So, switching to English and going from a lot of actually technical tasks that we have been talking, like Wi-Fi frequency ranges and so on, into perhaps more like management level view. That your kind of like presentations or interviews title is risk management and threat intel. I understand that threat intel is way more sexy than risk management, probably. So we probably need to start from the less sexy thing and then get to the threat intel. So what is Outpost 24 doing, and what is your view of how to kind of like get started the understanding of risk management in an organization?
I mean, to begin with, Outpost 24, we've been around since 2001. And basically, if you boil it down, we help our customers to minimize their risk. That's basically.
How do you do that?
We come from a traditional scanning perspective. So our products and services are based around scanning, might it be infrastructure or applications. We usually talk about having a full stack approach. So addressing both the endpoints and the infrastructure that you have, but also all the way up through your applications and your user and data, basically.
Okay, so I understand external scan is something like which is enumerating all of your endpoints, checking what are, I don't know, open ports, open services. For our Estonian viewers and listeners, a couple of days ago, SmartPost had it's a completely different post company, had a discovery by also a scanner, anonymous scanner in this case, who did discover a lot of interesting things about their backend. There is a very nice write-up of that. But what is your approach to scanning? In addition to that, it must be happening with on the agreement of the scannee. But what are kind of like all of the things you're able to?
I mean, when in our interaction with our customers, I mean, we would like to take them through a journey. Because there's a lot of companies and organizations out there that are just stepping into this space. And we usually then talk about getting the basics right. And that is identifying what you own, understand what kind of assets are you actually exposing, assessing those assets to see what kind of vulnerabilities do you have in those assets. And then you need to prioritize the work that you need to do in order to fix those vulnerabilities. And that prioritization is usually a major task for the organizations. And the fourth step that we normally go into is that you need to manage your risk. And that is remediate what you can, mitigate the things that you cannot remediate. And the third bucket that most organizations might overlook is that some of the vulnerabilities that they have, they just need to accept. But at least you're managing your risk. The fourth bucket that should never be used, which is unfortunately used quite a lot, is the ignore bucket. And that is, you know, everything that, if you go through your prioritization, you might use a model where you're looking at the CVSS scoring, and you say everything that is high and critical, we're going to remediate or try to fix that. That means that everything below that is being, in many cases, ignored.
But actually, when you are kind of like stacking together a lot of these medium things, then it can actually turn out to be a problem.
Absolutely. And that's when...
But so how do you kind of like explain that? Because I've also been very kind of like, I don't know, offended or annoyed by things that, okay, anything below critical or high is not important. How do you say that? How do you kind of like sell that kind of like larger view?
I think the reasoning behind it is quite simple, because I mean you're always going to be stuck with time, resources, and budget, and normally you wouldn't have enough of either of them to actually remediate everything that you have. So that is the first part. Then secondly, it's about prioritizing the stuff. Well, sorry. when I talk to our ethical hackers, for example, I mean, they don't go after the 7, 8, 9, 10. They know that most organizations would have that as part of their patch cycle, the patch Tuesday kind of approach, etc. They go after, just like you're saying, the combination of the 4, 5, 6, etc. That's where they're going to find things that are not being remediated or mitigated. So
how do I explain CVS's score to my management?
I mean, CVS's scoring is a method of trying to
explain things.
Qualify how bad something is, how big the hole is, if you like. And that is a technical way of describing it.
But I somehow have trouble telling that to management, that there is a CVS system.
Yeah, but that's where we're coming into the risk part. And I think that once you kind of get the basics right, and you're actually doing that on a continuous basis, because that's the second part to it, is that many organizations out there, now I'm going with the brutal truth, which I understand is the kind of underlying theme here, and that is that many organizations might see this as a tick in the box or a one-off type of approach. Having an annual pen test is a way to do things, and we can check that off to management that we're secure. Problem with that is that, you know, that pen test report is probably only valid, you know, as long as they're writing it up. Because today or tomorrow or the next week something new has happened, so it's already out of date. So what I usually say that, you know, this is not a sprint, this is a marathon, and you need to run that probably forever. And that is important to remember in this.
So I basically understand that I need to provide the information about live vulnerabilities with at least high CVSS score, at least weekly, to the management, so they kind of like get into the habit of seeing the problem on weekly meetings.
Yes, they need to see the information, but you probably also need to quantify it. So
how do you quantify a CVSS?
But that's where the kind of risk comes into play as well, because a vulnerability, the same vulnerability on two different assets might not pose the same risk to your organization or your business. It depends on where it actually is in your estate. If it's sitting on the one of your crown jewels, where you have, you know, your customer data or financial data or whatever it is, or if it's sitting on some peripheral machine or web application that is not critical for your business, then explaining that risk, if this box goes down or this web page goes down or web application goes down, then we're losing money. Then that is probably a language that C-level and board level would understand a bit better.
Okay, so I've seen a lot of different formulas for doing all of these risk assessment matrices, like probability is something 10 minus to the power of 10 something or else, and whatever. And Mari Seba once taught me that actually the easiest graph should be just like the impact is like on the scale of, I don't know, cost of morning latte, then basically like, I don't know, 100 or 1,000 euros, whichever is kind of like disposable problem for you. Then there's some couple of more steps, and there is actually the last one is the number of money losing of which will kind of like make your company bankrupt.
Yeah.
And then when you are talking on these things, then probably, okay, this risk can, via these steps, cause us, I don't know, 1 million thing. And also the probability, all of these reverse squares of something, not understandable. But if we tell that the risk is 1 million and the probability is that it might happen next week, then probably that's kind of like the thing.
That's the language they're going to get some reaction, yes. But the problem there is to be credible in what you're saying as well. Like, I mean, it's...
Do you have a tool for that?
Wouldn't that be the magic or holy grail now, if we could just quantify risk and just out comes a dollar sign or whatever? That would be the best one. But unfortunately, I think that is very complicated to achieve. Because like I said, it all depends on not only what risk it is towards you as an organization or your business, but it's also down to the risk appetite that you have in your organization. If there's For example, like, I mean, if you're a bookstore, having your web page defaced might not be the end of the world. For my company, being a cybersecurity company, our web page being defaced is a completely different...
Pretty bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on a lot of different factors.
And threat intel, because I think we wanted to leave that at the last, because if you haven't kind of like assessed what is your infrastructure, what are the risks, then actually getting threat intel that there is your account going around and I don't know, whatever can be, what can be actually done with that, or what can happen?
No, but if you go through the first parts, that you do the basics right, you're evaluating the risk that those vulnerabilities, etc., represents for you, then introducing threat intel, information on what the other side, the dark side, is actually doing, is going to make your process a lot more agile, because then you can actually react on things happening right now. If your name or your brand is coming up in conversations on the darknet, for example, or certain vulnerabilities that, if you're doing the basics right, you know that you have certain vulnerabilities in your network. Suddenly those have become weaponized, or there's a new exploit available and they're actually being used out in the wild. That means that you need to prioritize those higher up and remediate those quicker. So it allows you to be more agile in your management or risk management.
Okay, and I think that I just was looking over your shoulder on the screen back there, where is Outpost 24 logo, which is like there is one strong circle, which is probably the crown jewels, and then there are two kind of circles with some part thinner than the rest, and they are kind of aligned. And it reminds me that I was just exactly trying to explain to people different risks, and I was drawing very similar kind of like slides. The only thing I tried to show them that the holes in the circle are slightly in different places. So actually, currently the question is that the most important part is to see your protection as these outpost logo circles, and make sure the empty spaces do not align. And if they do align, then do something about that.
Good point.
Actually, yeah. I might become a designer when I get tired of security. Well, actually, I was once. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.